Today we are talking about one of the most iconic places in the whole Africa and one of my favorite locations when it comes to landscape photography, Sossusvlei. Since my first visit there in 2021, I've seen the tourism growing a lot in the area and regulations also changed. So in this video I will share everything I learned about the place and everything you need to know if you also want to go visit that amazing place and photograph the iconic landscapes of Sossusvlei and Vlei. So let's start with the accommodation. Where do you want to stay to visit Sossusvlei? The main gate to get to Sossusvlei is a small place called Caesarium. Now, when you go to Caesarium, you will pass a gate that is the access to the park and is the place where you will get registered and you will pay the park fees. And you don't need to book for that. You can just show up and pay there at the gate. After that gate, you enter the small village of Caesarium, where you find a couple campsite options and a few different lodging options. You will have to pass a second gate. This is because no one is allowed to be out in the park during the nighttime, and this second gate will close 1 hour after sunset and will open 1 hour before sunrise. This is important to know because the previous gate, where we paid for our entry permit, it will open 1 hour later in the morning and close 1 hour earlier in the afternoon. For this reason, if your goal is taking photos inside the park, it's very important to book a place that is inside the park, like inside of that first outer gate. Of course, these places tend to be more expensive than other lodging outside of this gate, but it's the only way we have to access early enough in the morning to shoot sunrise and also to stay late enough in the afternoon so that we can fully take advantage of the sunset. If you're camping, you can choose between the Caesarium campsite, managed by NWR, which is the Namibian parastatal company that manages all of the big parks in Namibia. Or you also have the Caesarium Oshana camp, which is a bit more expensive, privately owned, and offer much better facilities. I've been camping in both campsites, and in my opinion, it is worth to pay a bit more and stay at the Oshana camp. But if you're really on a budget, you can also stay at the Caesarium campsite and you will be fine. Remember to book way in advance because the spots inside of the park are limited and they fill up super fast. Now that we sorted the accommodation, let's see the main locations where you will want to take photos. The most famous is probably the Vlei. We can create endless types of compositions by framing in different ways the ancient petrified trees. How do we access Vlei? From Caesarium, it's a 60-kilometer drive on a tar road, and after that, we still have about 6 kilometers of driving on sand. So, first of all, if you want to access that place, you need a good 4x4 vehicle. Don't try to access it with a normal two-wheels drive vehicle because you will get stuck. Also, you have to drive these 60 kilometers on tar before, and the speed limit in the park is 60 kilometers per hour, so it will take you 1 full hour just to get at the end of the tar road. What you have to do is to check the time of the gate opening, which you can find at the gate. Wake up very early, and drive there at least 10 minutes before so that you are one of the first in line, and as soon as the gate opens in the morning you can access and drive into the park. When you get to the end of the tower and you have to drive into the sand, make sure you switch on your 4x4, and if you never drove on sand, you should know that it's also advisable to deflate the tires a bit to prevent getting stuck. After doing that, drive these last 6 kilometers to the end of the road where you will find a parking lot. From there, it's still around 20 minutes walking to reach Sossusvlei. This is the furthest location that we can reach inside the park, so my advice is to go there early in the morning. The gate opens 1 hour before sunrise, and you have all the time to drive all the way to the end of the road and access that way, and you're still in time to get the good light there. After your session there, when the light will start being harsh and the temperature will rise, you will see a lot of people coming in. All of these people are the ones that were stuck outside of the park and they had to go through the first gate that opened 1 hour later. At the time, you can leave because the light is already bad for photos. You can maybe explore a bit more of the park, you can walk up to a dune, but after a while I will always drive out of the park, drive back to Sesrim and spend the central hours of the day there where I can find some shades and some cool drinks. I will then drive into the park again around the mid-afternoon so that I can find a position for sunset. For this, I suggest you to stay somewhere closer to Sesrim so that you can stay late and make the most of the beautiful sunset light. Usually you can find very beautiful compositions between Dune 45 and Dune 39. Remember that these numbers correspond to how many kilometers you covered between Sesrim and the dunes. So Dune 39 means 39 kilometers, which translates into around 39-40 minutes driving back. Make sure you are out of the park before the gate closes because you will get a very high fine. What gear do you need to photograph Sossusvlei and Deadvlei? My first advice is to get a good sturdy tripod because that area is always super windy. If you're gonna shoot early in the morning and late in the afternoon with the soft light, you will want to use some slower shutter speeds, and so you need a very good tripod there. My favorite and most used lens, usually in Sossusvlei, is a telephoto zoom. I've been using a lot my 100 to 500 millimeters lately in recent trips. This is because the landscape is so vast and the dunes are so far away that having this compression factor and this telephoto perspective helps creating some abstract images and to get some patterns with the lines of the dunes. A wide angle might work a bit better in Deadvlei where you can get very close to a tree. I do not use polarizers that often, but in Sossusvlei I noticed that they really make a difference in the color and the contrast of the dunes. As soon as the sun is out in the sky, there is a lot of light being reflected everywhere and the sand is really bouncing off a lot of light, and a polarizer will cut off all of these reflections, making for a much more contrasty and saturated image. So highly recommended a polarizer. Also remember to bring some camera cleaning stuff, at least a brush and a blower. I use a rechargeable electronic blower. Sossusvlei and Deadvlei are extremely dusty places. You are in a sand desert with a strong constant wind. There is always a lot of sand in all of your equipment, so it's also important to regularly clean the camera and the outside of the lenses to prevent damage. Now let's talk a bit about the regulations that apply inside the park. As we said, the speed limit is 60 kilometers per hour, and I strongly recommend to stay within that limit, not only for your safety, but also not speeding will allow you to look around and scan the place for locations. You can find interesting photography spots pretty much everywhere inside the park, so slow down, look around, and when you spot something, remember it's also forbidden to drive off-road. What you can do is you can park like on the side of the road, just out of the tar road, leave the car there, and then from there you can walk. Remember that we are in a wild desert. While there are no predators there, it is extremely hot and windy. It happened already a few times to me to find myself very suddenly in a sandstorm. So also for safety reasons, do not walk too far from the car. Another very important rule is that drones are not allowed inside the park. Yes, I took some drone photos and footage, as you can see in this video, but I always applied for permits for that. Do not ever try to fly a drone inside the park without a permit, because rangers are everywhere and you might not spot them, but they will definitely spot you. When that happens, you will get a big fine and they will ask you to format your memory card, so don't even think about that. I know that dealing with all of these regulations and logistics might seem like a lot, but I can guarantee it's worth it. If you don't want to deal with all of this yourself, you can join one of my photography trips. Every year I run a photography workshop called Iconic Namibia. I perfected the itinerary over the years so that over 13 days we can visit all the best photography locations in the country. If you're interested, you can see the full itinerary on my website and you can find the link down below in the description. Sossusvlei and Deadvlei are mainly a landscape photography destination, but as we said, there is often some wildlife around, especially oryx. So while you drive in and out of the valley, keep an eye on the sides. If you spot a herd of oryx, try to find a spot where you can align one of them with the line created by a dune. If you can do that and you have a telephoto with you, you can get something like this, which is, in my opinion, one of the best photos I've ever got in Sossusvlei. If you have any questions about Sossusvlei or any other location where you want to take photos in Namibia, feel free to leave it down in the comments and I will be happy to answer and share my experience there. I hope you will have an amazing trip to Sossusvlei and to Namibia, and I'll see you in the next video.